This sounds different, doesn't it? Welcome to the Mindful Builder podcast, and I am not your host. No, but except for today, where the hosts have graciously agreed to flip the script and let me ask the questions. So hold on tight, we are in for a ride. This feel like a radio announcer.
I feel like I'm at like one of those carnivals and the carnies like you're about to jump on.
So, quick introduction. I'm Sven Maxa, founder of Maxa Design. Here in Australia, we specialise in high-performance residential design, working right at the intersection of building science, climate-responsive design, and the realities of actually getting these homes built. Today, I'll be putting the questions to these two gentlemen, drawing on their experience as builders and communicators in this space, and hopefully teasing out some insights that are genuinely useful for designers, builders, and home owners alike. So let's crack on. First, a message for our sponsors.
Before you go, Matt, I'm going to call Dawn after this, and I'm going to ask how long spent in front of the bathroom mirror reading that script, because that was brilliant.
So we are coming from the Built to Last Proclima studios. Proclima is our major sponsor, which we are both Hamish and I, Sven, are super proud to have on board. Like, this podcast costs us a lot of money, but these guys are now being able to assist us and at least cover a few costs here and there. We're going across Australia this year to record some podcasts as well.
We are.
So we're going to be hitting a number of states. So
where are we going?
We're going to WA.
Now that you're part of the group.
We're going to WA. We're going to Adelaide. We're going to Brisbane. We're going to Sydney twice.
Yep.
So
and maybe Tassie.
Maybe Tassie.
Maybe Tassie.
Ooh, awesome.
Maybe Tassie.
I've got a list of questions here. And
Is there a buzzer?
yeah, you'll need it. So, and my screen's going to keep turning off on me. I was reflecting on one of our previous conversations in one of these podcast chats we did, and I'm pretty sure both of you said at the time, and it might have changed, that neither of you as builders would sign a contract, a building contract, to deliver a certified passive house. Now, we know you've built them, we know you're good at it, and you're very competent builders, but you wouldn't sign a contract for one.
No.
And I wanted to delve into that a little bit, because I know you're both very competent with airtightness, HRV systems, great windows, etc. Tell me what the deal is.
You go first.
I will sign off on one, but I'll sign off that I will hit 0.6. That's it. Why is it my responsibility, the builder? Like, if I say, hey, I'm going to deliver you a certified passive house in the contract, how do I then check off that you've got all your design right from it? Or let's assume you're doing the modelling. How do I sign off on that? Now, I would sign off if we had a pre-construction, say from Marcus or Amelia or Luke to say certified. If everything is built as per PHPP, and you deliver that, yeah, sweet, I'll sign that off.
Great.
But I'm not going to sign off something.
That was a point I needed to clarify.
Yeah.
Are you the same?
So I'd be the same. I would say, yes, I would put it into my contract, but it would just come with conditions.
Yeah, so it's something we advocate to our clients, right? That if they're going to invest the money in great documentation, passive house calcs, pre-construction checks, certification fees, etc., and they're using an experienced, reputable builder who's done it before, what's the barrier?
So I look at it from there's like a risk point of view. Like I'll go back to my first ever contract that I signed. I wrote in there, stupidly in hindsight, that I would build you a passive house. So like hypothetically, I think it was at the conference, there was a project that they wouldn't give them the final building permit.
One of your projects.
Yeah,
One of
it was
Andy's.
one of ours.
It was one
And
of
so
Andy's.
like, what if I
Jan-Jack.
can't claim for 6 months my final payment? Do the client's allowed to move in? Do I get hit with liquidated damages? So I think there's got to be a little bit of a point there where I got to protect myself as a business. The passive house part isn't easy. It's all the actual other legal crap that would probably come with it that I'm protecting myself from.
And payment terms.
Yep.
Which you could structure appropriately.
100%.
Yeah, so again, to summarise that, I would with conditions.
Yep.
Okay, and the conditions are adjusted payment terms
Yep.
potentially?
Yep. To that if there's something outside of my direct control that it doesn't get certified for maybe the
Yeah, if someone made a wrong calculation.
Yep. That's not on me, then that shouldn't, but then here's the other kind of flip side of it. If we go back to that Jan-Jack project, what happens if the building surveyor doesn't issue the C of O?
Yeah, well, in that scenario, there were a lot of hurdles. But it got done because everything was evidenced appropriately.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was a first-time builder who'd never built a passive house. So, yeah, it was really interesting. It was a complete digression by the building surveyor. They went down a road they didn't need to go down, but lack of education and maturity in the market led us into that
we
position.
need a pre-construction sign-off from one of the
Absolutely.
certifiers. Yeah, sweet. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, as you guys know, we don't do that without, but it's just one of those things. So, okay. Next question. We've got lots, right? We might run out of time.
Well,
Anyway,
We can split into 2 podcasts if we need to.
Love it.
high performance as a system. So at what point does high performance, inverted commas, stop being about products and start becoming a system discipline? Where do you see most projects quietly falling short?
This is it's a really good one because high performance gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And Passive House does as well. But Passive House is very clear with what it is. We don't have a clear universal definition of what high performance is. We've kind of made it up. Our space.
Like on social media through Instagram.
Whether it's us, whether it's Max, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
Like, but the people building high performance homes are calling it a high performance home. I know for us internally, a high performance home is a passive house that's not certified. So some of the things that we tick off that we call a high performance home is it absolutely has to be modelled in pre-construction in PHPP.
What if it's modelled through NatHERS and it's like it's hitting, say, 8.5 stars?
All I'm talking about is what we do internally.
Keep taking my questions away.
I
I'm the
can't-
host.
I can't.
No, because I agree with you.
I can't talk to what other people do or what other steps they take, but this is just what we do.
Yeah.
Has to be modelled internally.
Agree.
From Sanctum Homes' point of view, we need to make sure that we're making it airtight. We're putting the Proclima system on. Sometimes we're not putting internal barriers.
Yep.
However, what we're doing in that scenario is double checking with someone like Cameron Munro to make sure that we don't have any risk.
Yep.
We're going through this at the moment with a project that we're working on together where we've identified there could be a risk. So we're getting a WUFI analysis. So modelling is really important. Continuous insulation, high performance windows, airtight structure, HRV. All the same principles that we're putting into a passive house.
Yep.
The major difference for us is that we would consider a high performance home that's sitting within the PHI low energy territory for most new homes. So if we're hitting under that 30 kilowatt hour mark and we're getting better than one air change an hour. The other thing that we think needs to be laid on to a high performance home is all the documentation of the project. So that's something we do internally anyway. We're taking photos for Instagram, social media, but we're also taking them to document the project so we can prove that we've done the things.
So that, just to interrogate that a little bit.
Can I add one more thing in?
Fine.
Like documentation, which goes down to your testing and checking.
Yeah.
Like you got to test and verify what you've done. I think like just,
Okay.
I think kind of Hamish alluded to it.
That actually delves a bit into what I was about to ask about, because that's about system and process, right? And,
Is
and
it, or is it
discipline.
just like how it should be done?
Well, no, but it's a step you have to go through physically to ensure you're delivering something, right? Whereas Hamish have just talked about materials, right? And you are putting in a HRV and you're using Proclima wraps, etc.
Yeah.
So let's say you get a code compliant home, 90 studs, 2.5 wall bats, class 4 membranes.
Yep.
Are you going to build that as it is and deliver that to a client, but integrate special steps or processes into your building methodologies to ensure it delivers the best quality it can?
So you're talking
Or
about
are you going to substitute out and bring in those materials? And
materials are a key point. So let's talk about, and I'm very, yes, Proclima sponsor this podcast. And there's a reason why both Hamish and I wanted to have them on as a sponsor, because we believe in the product.
Yep.
Now we can talk about, and I'll be open here, and I'll be if I don't like something Proclima do, I'll be honest and say that I don't align with that.
Yep.
Just because they're a sponsor doesn't mean I can't be critical at certain points. I use them because the system works. It's a system that's tried and tested. There's other class 4 vapor barriers on the or weather barriers on the market. how many of them could sit there and put a water pressure test if we hose down the house and work? And that comes down to when we test a building, we'll constantly test window openings to see if they're leaking.
Yep.
Will another product be able to withstand the amount of water that we can push against it? And yes, that might be an unrealistic, test that you're never going to see that amount of water. I don't know that won't see that amount of water in its lifetime. So yes, it does come down to certain products on the market because they're the only ones here in Australia that actually can do what we actually need.
Can I just go back to, so what was the original question? So you're saying you want to go beyond the products?
Well, I'm saying, at what point does high performance stop being about the products themselves and become the way we build, the system and and the techniques and methods and skills?
Yeah, so I would love for high performance just not to be relevant anymore. So then it just becomes that you're building a home. Okay, great. And it does include 140 studs or good insulation. And it does include thermal bridge free construction, including your windows, that it's airtight and we've got HRV and it's healthy. Like I'd love for it to not be called high performance anymore. And then it's just normal.
It's such a shit word too. I don't know. I just don't like
Well,
high
it's kind of above code. It's like saying passive house principles. Like, well, which principles are you choosing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of saying we're doing something above code, but it's a bit vague as to exactly what we're doing.
I kind of think, like, now I'm just thinking out loud with high performance. Like, we say we test and check at home, yeah?
Yeah.
Where it's me and you testing or our team. Like, wouldn't it make more sense if you don't go down the certified road and let's assume Sven's designed it? Hey, Sven needs to be there for the blower door test. He needs to be there pre-plaster. He needs to be there when the window sticker's on. So he can also verify it. Because who's to say that we can't just say, yeah, test was good, see you later.
So that there is a segue into something that we do with our projects is we ask our clients to engage us to conduct inspections of the passive house criteria. Because you guys are very experienced, you know what you're doing. It's highly unlikely you'll ever make a mistake or you'll divert off the drawings.
I've made mistakes.
Some people do, right?
I forgot to document stuff.
We've had the first two projects we did this on. The first one, we stood at a junction of a wall and a window and a step in the floor with the builder for half an hour, I reckon. Something didn't feel right. We didn't know what it was. We just kept coming back to that corner. And in the end, Aitan, our senior architect, he's looked and he's gone, that's a thermal bridge. You know, we didn't have it on the document. We'd missed it. The certifier had missed it. Our passive house designer missed it. We then workshopped it on site. He brought out his concrete saw. He said, that there has probably saved me tens of thousands of dollars finding it now rather than finding it once the joinery goes in and working it out or the frame goes up or whatever, having to rebuild the frame. So that was a win. Second project, literally the next week, we've gone out and done the inspection for the client to make sure it's being built per the code and per the plans. A wall was 600 mil out of whack, right? Our fees have just been paid for.
600 mil out of
it was in the wrong place. The concrete slab was being poured and the wall and the alignment of the wall and the slab was 600 mil in the wrong direction. So the room was the wrong size. Now that, you can put that down to
That's not a passive house thing though.
No, but that was just the benefit of having the designer come and check what was going on site. And these builders that we're working with on these projects are fantastic builders. They're just like you guys.
Yeah, but they're also human beings.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I trying to kind of get the angle of where you're going to with this because I think it's a really great conversation. Are you sort of advocating for the design team to be actively involved during construction? Because we support it a lot. Yeah, we support it.
I've got another question around that.
Okay,
I don't know if this is also going in, but we are now saying to clients that we are writing in, if there's a HIA contract, we're going to write in Sven and his team and assume that you're going to need them to come on site, a 12-month project once a month. Some months it might be 4 weeks in a row. At certain points, we might not see them for 3 months.
I actually just locked the gates when the designer asks to go and visit.
Yeah, thanks. That was great. Did you?
He called me last week while I wasn't on site, and he goes, "Oh, can I go in?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
It's in breach of my
It was the right decision. Absolutely the right decision.
I would have let you on.
Yeah. Thanks. So, no, that was good. So the team approach, you guys are a massive advocate for this. I know builders paid as a consultant, etc. Yep. So from your perspective as builders, at what point does a project stop being a builder delivering a design and start becoming a genuinely collaborative team effort? At what point?
Before the project's even started,
Yeah.
like before that is even on pen and paper.
Yeah, so then I'll just quickly give you the sort of basic steps that a lot of projects follow, and the one we follow. We do a feasibility study first, and that doesn't include a builder in that process.
That's
Typically.
huge. So that's you trying to get the project so you can design it. Is that my understanding?
It's almost like a concept design stage
Yep.
without heavy architectural input.
Yep.
It's more a pragmatic, what is feasible for this client and what they want to do, and can they afford it, and what are the planning
I think
restrictions,
that's too
etc.
late.
And then we use a ProCalc assessment on that, and we sort of sanity test that with some recent project completions and square metre rates and whatever else we use. Don't lock me down on square metre rates. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then once we get to concept design stage where we start building a 3D model, that's when we would bring you guys in to start eking out some precision and accuracy. And
so it's no secret that we've done heaps of projects together. We've got a number of projects in pre-construction. We've got one under construction at the moment. I'm going back to an example of a project that actually didn't go ahead, and one of your team emailed me the ProCalc that you guys had done, and I said, "Don't show them that."
I remember this. Yeah,
I said, "Don't." I said, "Don't show them that," and these are the reasons why. And I know you and I have talked about this a lot, right? And I think ProCalc's a really powerful tool, but it's like everything: good input in, good input out; shit input in, shit input out.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that your team doesn't get it right. I'm not saying that at all. And I've seen them drive it, and there has been some scenarios where we've both come pretty close because we use ProCalc. But I think in that particular project, my opinion and my understanding of what was involved in that project was wildly different to the outputs that you guys got.
Yep.
So I actually told your team not to put that in front of the client.
Yep.
And I jumped in and said, I think you need to tell them this range instead.
Yep.
I think that,
And for the record,
yeah,
we did.
You did, absolutely we did. But I think that right there is truly collaboration, because we've worked together so many times.
Yep.
I even had a conversation with you yesterday, and I actually messaged you afterwards and said, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry if I came across as a dick then, because I basically told you not to put something in front of the client because I think it's misleading and confusing.
Yeah.
And my reasons are X, Y, and Z." And we kind of agreed that was the case. And I think that's collaboration.
It is.
Because we kind of
hard
understand.
conversations.
Yeah, hard conversations. But, I've known Sven for 10 years,
Lost count.
8, 9 years, whatever it is. So we can have those conversations.
I just don't think architects and designers should show or give budgets, period. I don't think they should talk any, I think that they've got to design to a budget, and clients aren't always willing to give the full amount they want to spend. So that's a challenge that you and architects, designers have to face. Once it comes down to you've got to design, I don't think that an architect or building designer or anyone other than a builder should be giving pricing. Now, architects will go get caught on. I don't think architects, I'll go why in a second. I don't think architects should be getting quantity surveys, because let's just be straight up honest. They get quantity surveys to justify their fee. That's it. It's period why they do it. They don't. What we need to worry about.
Debatable.
Yeah, it is totally debatable. But we're also sitting on different sides of the fence.
Because I think that
there's also two of us too here. So
we're teaming up on you.
Yeah,
you don't know what the builder's
the host.
margins are, and you might be better at some, but a lot of what we see is a lot of people will try get a project across the line at a number that they want because they want to keep the job moving. You might be better at saying, no, you can't do that. And you can only design to what they have told you as well. So if they want this certain size and this amount, and their budget's not going to be realistic, and then you give them a number, that's not also your fault that you've had to design something that they can't afford.
But I think we have a responsibility to talk numbers with the clients. And it's not necessarily that we're preaching to be correct, but for example, I've just come from a prospective client meeting now, just sat down, had a coffee and a chat about what they want to do. They're talking about spending a certain amount of money, and it would be remiss of me to sign a contract and service them if I don't think what they want to do is even remotely possible.
That's different to giving a number for the design that you've designed.
Yeah,
though.
and so then I have to evidence my opinion.
And the evidence should come from the builder.
Ideally, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But the builder can't price anything realistically until he's got some sort of design information.
But neither can you.
No, so we're using the numbers from our previous projects
Yeah.
to inform what we're doing, and that's based on
Is that indexed?
And that's previous, yeah.
yeah. So that's historical data, yep. And so then we have to then forecast future inflations and contingencies and
Look,
landscape budgets and all these things.
I think that is okay at that very point in time. My opinion is that once there's actually some lines on a paper,
Yeah.
My personal opinion is that it can get a bit dangerous if the designer is at that point giving them costing advice.
Because it becomes
yeah.
not our problem.
How do we get so deep into costing here when I was talking
Because
about
no one wants to talk.
collaboration?
No one wants to talk about
Yeah.
costing.
But I think it's a great segue into collaboration, though.
It's a fundamental part
No,
of
no, like
collaboration.
know your
But
job.
Your perspective, I think, is you should be involved from the minute the inquiry comes in and the
Not the-
project.
once you've signed it, I think at that point, once you've signed it, you should be interviewing, say, 3 builders, and then they pick who they want.
I think that,
Okay, but then you're happy to get involved at that point, but you're also happy to get involved a bit later.
Look, I mean, my preference is that we're all get signed up at the same time. That's my preference. I mean, how many projects have we done together where they've come to me, you've got signed up, and then the project I was talking about before is a classic example. They came to us first.
Yeah.
They hadn't even signed us up
Yeah.
when I was kind of giving we were talking a lot in that very early design stage.
Yep.
I hadn't even been signed up by the client yet, but I knew it was a valuable input from me at that point in time because I knew that project had risk around it.
Yeah.
And I mean, ultimately,
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense for them to go ahead.
It's not fair to put all the pressure on the design team either. Like, you guys know how to design, and builders know how to build. They know buildability, but we also sit in front of estimations constantly.
Yep.
I still don't know what something costs, and I look at it 5 times a week. So how then can I think that's appropriate to put the pressure on a design team to then also know as much as we might know about costings when they might look at it once a year?
Yeah, I mean, I can see from both sides, though.
I-
Sven.
yeah,
I totally get it. I understand it.
Okay, so that's probably answers the next question to some degree. But when projects are run in silos and there's no collaboration, is cost overrun the biggest issue you see on projects?
I don't know.
As in,
So the project is designed, it's documented, you price it,
I got the answer.
or then you build it, or whatever. Like, what's the biggest issue you see when it isn't a collaborative?
Fucking shit documentation by
I mean,
design team. Like, straight up.
I mean, there's
That's my next question.
there's probably multiple things. One, there's budget.
Yeah.
Two, and the biggest one, the biggest thing around the budget at that point is that the clients are falling in love with the thing that's in front of them. They've selected the tiles. They've so much emotional energy and time and money has gone into those documentation.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a builder comes along and goes, you can't afford that.
But also the crap
So
document.
is the biggest risk that the client can't afford what they want and have requested and that the architect has delivered, or that you're disappointing the client with bad news and you look like a bad
I
guy?
think it's all of it. I think it's all of it. I mean, and okay, say hypothetically speaking, if that scenario was, say you came to me and said, for whatever reason, we're coming in right at the end. The other builder had got sick and can't do the project. You're coming to me. We would cost it, but then we wouldn't actually start that project until we've actually gone through that documentation to make sure that the plans are right. So it wouldn't even hit site before we've done our, I guess, due diligence on that documentation. But it is frustrating to go back and retrospectively change the design.
Oh,
Wh-
for everybody.
For everyone. Like when it's an iterative thing and you're just changing little bits here and there, like it is so much easier, so much more timely, less energy, less emotion, less money.
client pays for it at the end of the day.
So let's assume the project goes ahead.
Yep.
Are there any problems or challenges that you see when you haven't been collaborating on
Poor
the project?
document, like
Quality documentation?
I mean, and performance too. Like how have all those thermal bridges been analysed? Has the installation of the windows and has any consideration been done around that?
Yep.
yeah,
Like-
it's documented.
So that's one of the big risks
Yeah.
for the clients potentially.
Well,
in
and the
that
builders.
scenario.
I'm
the
going to
builders, yeah.
assume, with your comment there, Haim, that they've got Logic House Windows who Harley's going to design it. Cam's already done the PHP and it's been ticked off. So like in best case situation, it's still and it's probably bad because it's then a passive house, so documentation needs to be on point. The problem that I see is I get some final set of plans that like, hey, can you tender for this? There's more pages of fucking renders than there are of document like actual drawings. Like that's it.
Well, you can work it out. You're a smart man.
Stupid though. No, but like and then I get some plans and like I've got some plans on my desk that have concepts and there's more information in that than I do that a final set of plans.
Do you know it's actually easier for us to cost, and we'd probably get pretty close to being accurate on a set of concept drawings and schematic engineering.
Yeah.
Because we're just going through and going, well, we know there's a tap, we know there's a tiles, we know how many square meters of whatever there is.
Yeah.
Like we can move through that
100%.
so quickly because we're just putting allowances everywhere.
Too many
Okay,
pages.
so that's taking me to my next question.
Too many
right?
documents. I bring it to one PDF. Like why can't have an architectural that's also at the same PDF as engineering that then you put your schedules in and why can't it just be one document?
And building a house is hard. Why make it fucking harder by just overloading everyone with just more useless
like 40
documentation?
pages of renders that like
Righto. So
give us a
then
3D drawing.
Okay, get that calm, boys.
Fucking
Hang on,
architects
how-
and designers,
okay.
jeez.
So my question was going to be how much easier does good documentation actually make your
it's-
life as a builder? Maybe the question should be, what is good documentation
I'm all
for a
3D
builder?
design, like BMX files, like we're in like so going back a little while, my team are on their phone on site. I was like, guys, what are you doing? They're sitting there on the models, being like, well, that's how the plans aren't that sort of. We can't understand how they wanted it, so they're zooming in on the model, being like, oh wow, I can see that's kind of how they want it. That's how we'll build it. 3D models to me is everything because also we constantly get plans where you got little bits jutting in and out. The elevations don't tell a full story sometimes, so we can actually see how a structure might come together from a visual 3D perspective.
So for you, good documentation is a BMX file,
Not just BIM,
It's just a 3D model.
yeah. I think if
but a live one that he can
Yeah,
manipulate
whether
on
that's
site with a
Spec,
tablet or
SketchUp,
whatever.
BMX, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big winner. You guys build in 3D now, yeah?
Yeah,
So why can't we just have some form of a way on an iPad to be able to access it?
yeah, you can.
I mean, we've talked about this, and maybe we're digressing a tiny bit because I think I showed something on Instagram one day about the modelling that we're now doing, and you asked, "Well, what about our model?" And I think I came back to you and said, "Well, how you've designed it may not be exactly how we're building it because we're actually building the model how we're building it on site now." I'm not saying that can't exist. I'm not saying that we can't bring those two together because it's much less work for us then. But it's probably going to be more work for both of us in pre-con.
And so there's potentially less of a gap between those two things if your architectural team has some really good, deep building knowledge, construction, buildability, experience, etc. One of the reasons we put our team out on one of your sites recently.
So another thing with documentation is kind of sort of flows into that a little bit is like ask the builder what building site they want to work with and what engineer they want to work with. It goes a long way, huge way, because we know how each other works. We know what the expectation are from that building surveyor. And we know the expectation of that engineer and what we're going to receive.
I think the building surveyor is probably less important to me than the engineer.
Yeah, the engineers are a critical component, and we've had good ones and bad ones. As you know, we only really work with the Asher these days.
Yeah.
But
I'd hate other and not.
No, I don't have
Strong
that.
word.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's just boil this down a little bit. What separates average documentation, just working off physical plans, let's ignore 3D models, what separates average documents from really good documents?
I usually base mine off how many phone calls I get.
As in the construction teams on
Yeah,
site?
yeah.
So let's say you are tendering, you're quoting for a job, and that's when you're really poring over the drawings, right?
Yep.
What makes good set? What makes a
I love
crap set?
color. Color. Like, so I've seen plans recently. So if they've got a 140 mil wall with, say, a 45 vertical batten, that might be pink. If they've then got a cross batten as well as a vertical, that whole wall might be yellow. So then you've got your 90 mil wall that might be green. So visually, team on site, that's the build up for that wall. That's the build up. And so, yes, it looks all different on the outside, but you see everything. Then you've got like your engineering. When you've got, say, like sort of is it a schematic 3D-ish sort of that you get? Yep. Like, why can't that be checking actually that the engineering fits in the building?
Well, you know what? I think understanding where all of your running measurements are taken from. Is it outside of cladding? Is it frame? Is it slab? Like just understanding where that number's coming from.
Yep.
Your datum point.
Yeah, like, and being very explicit about that. Like we like to work to frame.
You have to work
yeah.
to frame.
We like to work to frame, but
That's
I know
what you're essentially starting with, isn't it? You know.
I've had a set of documents that isn't. It's like to outside of cladding. I'm like, well,
What's your build up?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
To frame.
But can I ask you a question here? And this is
No, because I'm the host.
no,
today.
but like you.
No,
but
no, 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 Matt, he's the host.
Matt, have you got a question?
But how does it go so different? Like you get taught how to when you train to be
Yeah.
a designer that you get set out from say a frame or something.
Yeah.
How do some people set out from plaster and some are cladding, but then some are frame? Like,
Yeah.
how does that all?
I don't know.
Where does that get lost?
Yeah, and I think it's been lost in the transition to 3D modelling, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay.
Because we back in the old manual days, that's how I started. Yeah, you would only really draw the stud frames.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you wouldn't
okay.
draw the plasterboard.
Did you used to go
line.
home with blue fingers from the blueprints that you were drawing on?
No, I didn't.
Not
Grey
that-
from
not
the
that-
pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not blue.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Did they have pencils back then?
Grid lines, Sven.
I love grid lines.
Grid lines
Yeah.
that translate from architecturals to engineering,
Yep.
and that they're exactly the fucking same.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good feedback, gents. Thank you. So does a good set of quality architectural and structural documents help curtail cost variations and therefore reduce project cost risk?
Of course it does. I mean, is that a loaded question?
To a degree, it is. So
Yeah, like,
some builders would love to have just a plan, an elevation, and a section, and I'll work it out.
Okay, so I think that is a good point because at a certain point, that's how I want the collaboration process. That's where we need to start. Hey Matt, hey Hamish, how would you build? What wall system are you going to build? Are you going to use 35mm vertical battens? You're going to use 19mm. Like that's where that collaboration comes in and starts, and then you can design. So I think yes, that builder wants the freedom, but that freedom should be still in the design phase.
I agree. The freedom should be in the collaborative stage
Yeah.
during design.
So it can be documented
Together.
appropriately.
Yep. So, and if I'm thinking about speed of estimation, you know, again, we can estimate a set of drawings that's not completely resolved really quickly. When it's resolved, it takes us a lot longer because we're double checking everything. By the time these documents hit site, I want my team to be able to go, hey, what's this wall type? What's the battens? Where's the cavity closer going?
Yeah.
And that wants to be completely dialed in. That's a good set of documentation. But our DNA is through those drawings, and our DNA is inserted during pre-construction.
Yeah, agreed. Because ultimately, if it's a certified passive house project,
Exactly.
you're signing a document that says, I have built this exactly per the drawings.
And let's go back to the first question you asked then. Would we put passive house into a contract? And to sign off on it, we need to make sure it all works.
Yeah, so you will
We
check
take
the
the- we
drawings
then
and make
taking the
sure
risk.
you are happy to execute exactly what's shown. And if not, you would ask the architect to amend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I think is the right way. Yeah, cool. Okay, so in your experience then, what level of precision genuinely matters on site? Where do we, as designers, over-specify a detail that doesn't meaningfully improve the outcome on site or add value to the building process?
What I
Put
hate.
in layman terms, are there details and drawings you just ignore?
So this isn't your fault as a design team. For some stupid fucking reason, we have the NCC and building surveys make them copy diagrams that are in the NCC to have a whole page of like, oh, this is how you waterproof. This is how you do this. This is a detail from the NCC. Why can't the builder be responsible for just looking up the NCC?
Do you know what I want to see on drawings? And this is probably on in line with what you're saying. Anything that's on that documentation, I want it to be 100% relevant to that job. I don't want to see like a standard detail.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just a standard
Standard
detail,
notes.
standard note, whatever. Like for me, it needs like, because that just all gets watered down. Like I know my team on site just want to build the house.
Yeah.
Why is there masonry notes when there's not a brick in sight?
Yeah, agreed.
Like, and that's not your fault because the building surveys make you put them in there.
Well, not always. No.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll just be a carryover. Like there's a template that everyone uses, and it just
because you
duplicates.
I respect that you have to.
Yeah.
But over time, the thing is like in those notes, it says that like what a rising and going must be. That's in the NCC.
You know what? Don't put information in there that's not relevant. Don't like.
Quality is better than quantity.
Yeah. Don't just put stuff in there for the sake of putting stuff in there. You know, the less information in those drawings is probably better.
I would love to see when we go drawings. You know how sometimes you get like the 3D section of a rather than a 2D section of a say a detail. Why can't they start being more 3D? And
But they can. The
There's a lot of work, I'm
challenge for
assuming.
the designers and architects is how much time do we have to complete a set of
Well,
documents?
this is where I think the model is really important because you're drawing the model anyway. Now, look, from an estimating point of view, I know for Sanctum Homes we are drawing the house. That's part of our takeoff, if you will.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's move on from documentation. No, we're talking about going back to costing and pricing projects.
Yeah.
Got a bit of a predicament in that no one actually ever prices a home on square metre rates. Okay, that's just the wrong approach. Yet everyone still uses them to talk about cost. It still happens, right? As much as we hate it, it's happening. If we want to move away from square metre rates, what should we replace it with?
Linear meter rates. I don't know. I just think.
So what's a better way to help a client understand affordability before anything is sketched?
Feasibility study.
I think
Good answer.
that at feasibility stage, and we draw a very, very clear line and wrap some very clear understanding around what feasibility is. At that point, sure, throw square meterage at it because it's
so square metre rates have a place.
At feasibility. Anywhere beyond that, absolutely not.
Do you guys track square metre rates of historical projects?
No, because they're all so different.
Yeah, I mean we've got the data, but we don't use it.
Fine,
But what we do though is we go right. We know that that project was that price, and they're similar sizes. We can go, hey, you know what? This is kind of similar to here. Expect to be paying this or more because that project was 12 months ago.
And the detail is important because some square metre rates will include carports and garages and some won't. Some will include the eave line and some won't.
Yep.
You know, there's so many variables that the square metre rate from one builder
And is it
on one house will be
XGST
different
or is
to
it
another.
not
Only
XGST?
person
All of
that
those
should be
things.
talking square meter rates is someone like price to plan, but they don't talk. They don't talk about hey, the house is 7,000 a square meter, the kitchen's 10,000, the bathroom's 6, the bedroom's 4.
Yep.
So they actually work out in a different way.
Yeah.
That's the way to talk about square meterage. The problem is that data is thousands of houses to be able to obtain
It's
sensible data.
$500 million worth of costing.
Yeah,
data.
so I think feasibilities, we talk about it, and or you might say, because again, is it a double story, is it a single story, sloping block? We don't know, but you could be like, what you want is like this house Hamish did. Hamish built this for this. Assume it's going to cost around there, plus inflation last year was 3.2%, maybe add a little bit more. You're building in 2 years, add another 3.5 compounding for 2 years. So therefore, realistically, we're looking at this. And we need to understand with clients, budget is not the build cost. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had very early. Is what
Distinction between
yeah,
those
your
things,
budget is not what the build's going to cost.
No.
That's what you want to spend or can afford.
Yeah. No, there always needs to be that clarity around, well, what's that number allowing for?
Yeah. I say that we don't quote based on square metre rates. However, we do
Use it.
use it as a tool to kind of give you a guide of where we think the project's going to land.
But you might be looking at floorboards a square meter. Hey, they're 120 a square meter supply. Cool.
There's too many,
You know what I mean?
far too many variables to try and
This is fun, by the way. I like
I
this.
like this one. Yeah.
Should do this more often.
So
It's only warming up now. I reckon Sven's like, you just wait for the next
Yeah,
question.
these questions are boring.
well, we sort of delved into
Make 'em spicy.
this next question already, but I'm curious to hear your perspective on it because I didn't ask that before. So I'm going to back up to this on the site inspections carried out by architects and designers on projects. So we've had two different responses in recent times.
During construction.
Yeah, so we're coming out to inspect the building work. Now, one of the builders couldn't have been more enthusiastic, turned to the clients and said, you know what? This is a passive house. It's important we get it right. It's the first time I've done it. I'm going to cover half the architect's fees for these inspections. The builder out of his own pocket. right? That blew me off my chair, right? Because it's not his house.
Did you put your rates up?
But then another builder said, well, I'm actually going to charge the client additional fees now for my additional time to sit down with that architect and designer and walk them around the site and pause my work for a couple of hours every fortnight or 4 weeks or whatever it ends up being. So
maybe we shouldn't work with that builder
your
again.
take on how would you react and what do you see fair and reasonable?
Let's go back to your point before, and I think this sums up. When you went on site once, we can't pick everything. We're going to miss stuff. That's the reality. You went over something, and it might be simple as like, hey, that lighting spot doesn't look right. We need that light actually should be there. I guarantee you it's a lot cheaper for you to pick it up on early. And I look at you guys coming on site as a free employee to check over some quality work. It's quality control as well. It's just an extra step.
Well, it's free for you.
Yeah, I know that's. I don't say this. That's not my problem. Like,
I know what you mean.
You're paying someone to do it.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, hats off to that other builder. Like I actually feel that that's a really cheap investment on their learning. So probably not a bad move from them. We wouldn't charge extra when you as the design team are coming out once a month. However, if it was an administered contract by an architect under ABIC, then there are additional administration fees for us for doing something like that. If we're just coming out on site and because we're doing fortnightly site meetings anyway. I've got one at Willow tomorrow.
Just come along.
Come along. Or,
I think I might.
Well, if you want to go,
can I
that's
come?
fine.
What time?
They'll be there at 7.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. But that's just like, I think if you're saying, hey, I want to come at 3 p.m. and then I want to come at 2 o'clock next week. No, my rule is no, we have meetings at 8 o'clock with our clients on a fortnightly basis set at the start. You jump in on that.
Yeah.
And we'll work if you want to come to every one of them. I might say to, hey, you guys, what days work best for you? And we can all agree on a Wednesday morning.
Or is there? I mean, I guess it's a question, that you can have a conversation during pre-construction and say, at what point do you see it valuable that you come out to site?
I think we should be there, site set out and onwards, like every other fortnight, like at all the milestones.
every
and
day.
Most importantly for us, because we believe in passive house and the high performance outcomes of that, we want to inspect all of those principles. Thermal bridges, insulation, installation, because there's just not enough oversight of that in our industry. Window installs, HRV, all that. And you guys have done all this a million times, right? So it's not necessarily that you're going to have
at us,
a problem with it.
I think the first time you do a passive house that way, 100%. You should actually, as a builder, want that help. I don't think site set out, because site set out can be quite complex with multiple lines being run. The time that we would spend to run you through would be a whole day, probably more.
Yeah.
I think I just look at it as it's a constant, like it's like anything. If you maintain something, you constantly go to the gym just on a regular basis, you keep fit. If you come and go and that doesn't work. So I just say come every second week. We'll fill you in with what you need to. You don't need to know everything that we do on site. We'll come to you most likely with a solution to a problem. And or we can flag something early. We're now, like for us, we're working through a sheet at the moment so when we do an estimate at the start, we have a list in Asana as TBC items, unresolved items, sort of thing. So details that aren't resolved. So from meeting one, I'm like, Sven, I need to know your tiles. Hurry up and make your decision.
Well, I think what we need to work out, Sven, is how often we want to go surfing at Point Leo when Shoreham starts. And then I think we'll just tailor everything, our site visits around that.
Nice wineries out there too.
So that's going to be, most days, pending the weather. You're not building in winter, are you?
Hopefully back end of this year.
So a lot of the high performance building playbook is imported product.
Isn't everything in
it's
Australia?
changing slowly, I'm sure, with things. But so where do you think Australian projects misapply that overseas logic, if you like, particularly around moisture, ventilation, solar control? Are we leaning too heavily into European data and systems and methods and not doing it for an Australian climate, for example?
I don't think so, because building physics is building physics, and every time that you run something through PHPP, it's using climate data from that area. So I don't think, my opinion is I don't think so. I think there's a misunderstanding of potential clients saying, oh, well, I don't want to build a passive house, you just need triple glazed windows. And we'll say, well, I've only ever needed triple glazed windows on 1 or 2 passive houses, and it hasn't been for all the windows. It's just been for some of them. So I think there's a misunderstanding of some of the applications of some of these materials. But I think if you're building here or building in Queensland or building in Antarctica or building in Canada, like I think the idea is the same, and I think the same products can be used.
I think that
I don't think we're overcomplicating our buildings.
100%. I reckon, I'm going to be honest here, as much as we have some of the worst buildings in the world in Australia, I think our best buildings are pretty much up there with the best. Whilst we're using materials from overseas, because let's be honest, in Australia, we don't manufacture anything. So we have to import, and there comes a cost with that. But I think what we're producing from a building perspective, the best houses would compete with the most best performing houses in, say, North America or Europe. They just might have thicker walls.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does to a degree. And I was kind of leaning towards our different climate. And so what's happening now in parts of Europe, obviously the climate is heating up, and a lot of those homes are designed purely for heat retention. And now they don't have any solar control, and their homes are getting really hot, and they're suffering.
So you're talking about we need more manual external shading, for example?
Well, so we don't design a passive house without it, right? Like for us, that's the 6th passive house principle at Maxa Design. Shading. We have to have operable shading systems, and if budget gets stretched, okay, we might change 1 or 2 to an eave, but eaves are good. Blinds are far superior.
Don't you think though, if you're looking at the whole system of passive house, that external shading is an easy bolt-on?
It can be, yes.
I took it out of my house.
But the point I'm trying to make is though, the other 5 principles aren't.
No.
So
they're ingrained into the building fabric.
Yeah. So if these homes are starting to overheat, whack a blind on it.
Yep.
You can always retrofit a blind.
That's what I'm saying.
The modelling will tell you if you need the blind in the first instance.
Yeah, but you're saying existing buildings which are now overheating, or underheating.
Is it 10% of the time? Is that what they account for?
That's a threshold, but in Australia you wouldn't do anything over 3%.
So
it just gets uncomfortable.
Can't you? I don't know.
Because it gets too hot.
Yeah, and it does. Like, I've only got 2 west windows at my house.
Good.
Yeah,
that's it. Actually, 3. One's a bathroom, but you do feel it heat up upstairs. Like upstairs, it's way more important for them to have it. I don't have it at mine. Would I do it again? Probably I'd put them in, but I also go to a point is like enoughness. Like what point do we keep? Because if everyone does shading, what's the next thing everyone's going to need? And then what's the next thing everyone's going to need?
I think with shading, I mean, unless it's on a second story, I think there are other more aesthetic ways of shading your home, and you bring landscaping into it. So,
Yep.
Have we answered your question yet?
Yeah, I think you have.
We'll just tick that one off.
How are we going, by the way?
You're going really well, you guys.
Great,
You've nearly passed the test.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you see... There's a bit of contention in the industry here about air tightness targets. Okay, so passive house requires 0.6 ACH, air changes per hour. A lot of people say you don't need to go that tight.
Who says this?
Oh, well, there are particular teams out there. I'm not putting any names under the bus here today, but there are people who would suggest that you don't need to go that airtight.
Probably don't.
1.5 or 2 is fine.
Sure.
Yeah, you just get more control. Like... Well, I think
so. Listen,
how should designers and builders navigate that?
Can we separate new homes to renovations here?
Can I just say one thing before we dive down that? If you listen to Jess's podcast with Wolfgang, they talk about air changes, and he basically said 100% of certified passive homes at 0.6 air changes or lower do not have any mold problems. So I think that there is, and look, the risk is really low from 3 below if you've got appropriate ventilation systems as well.
But what if it's big hole?
If that is verbatim what you've just said, and I know we can forget the exact wording, but if it's not 0.6H, well, it's not a passive house, so it doesn't count.
Okay.
I think we need.
What I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Was he slipping something through there?
Yeah. I think we need to separate.
Potentially.
I think we need to separate this into new homes and renovations. New homes, there is no excuse why you shouldn't get a house under 1 air exchange, period.
Well, I think the question is, like, do we have to try and get 0.6? Because there is, if you actually look at I'm just speaking in general terms here, so don't quote me on actual kind of results, but you do have a bit of a diminishing returns at about 3 or 2 air
No,
changes.
I think it's down once you hit about under 1, it really diminishes from that point.
Yeah, but you start to see quite a significant drop after 3 air changes from your energy consumption point of view. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, you do. But at the end of the day, you guys, I think, have both said that you could just do an external wrap on a building and get 0.6 ACH.
Did we do?
And you have done, I think, right?
Yeah.
So that isn't necessarily just about the product. That's also about the workmanship.
Correct.
The execution.
This is where because if that's where I was about to get to. So that's why I say new home. If you don't get under 1 air exchange for your external membrane, I'm going to say take into complexity design. So some designs are quite complex, but let's just call it a double story gable, whatever. You haven't installed the product correctly. That's not an air tightness problem. You actually haven't installed the product the way it needs to be. You haven't put the tape on correctly. That half an air exchange could be coming from your roof, where you haven't put your Mento and tape that properly, which means that could be a water leak when it condensates and run in. That's a bigger issue than the air tightness. So I think that we use air tightness as a measure for how well I would say we're keeping water out of the building when we hit that point, rather than actually air infiltrating. Does that make sense? Because if I know I'm at 0.6, I know that I haven't got water ingress happening through my membrane. If I'm at 1.5 on a new build, I go, well, where's my hole?
Interesting.
It's renovation's a different
So you would then advocate that with a new build, we should be able to deliver passive house air tightness just with an external
We
wrap.
should.
So I'm going to disagree with that. I think you should be able to get around that 1 air change mark pretty comfortably in most designs. Whether you can get it down to 0.6,
0.7, 0.6,
whatever it is. But I think with an external membrane on a brand new home with a pretty easy form, then you should be getting 1 air change.
And just to be clear, we sort of pinpointed air tightness as a particular topic on that. And air tightness is an energy loss mitigation method. It's not about vapor control or anything else, right? So we're just talking about
kind of potentially. So let's go on the argument of someone that might say, no, we only need three air exchanges. All right. What if 2.5 of that air exchanges is one big hole that I have in my building at one point, and now I have a huge amount of hot air, cold air condensating, and that part gets structural damage. Is that now an air tightness problem, or what is it?
It started with that,
but like,
but it's becoming a structural problem and a health problem.
Yeah.
So you're a good builder. I'm just going to assume that people listening here are good builders, and they want to do a blower door and they want to understand the performance of their building. They're going into this project with just an external membrane. Test the building, go around and find out where the holes are. Now, you're going to feel air leakages, but you're going to really feel a big one, and you're going to see a big one.
You'll stand under it and you'll notice it.
And
And
you'll really feel it, right? So if you're at 2 air changes or 2.5 air changes, I would think that you're more than just a little bit of infiltration through some junctions and a window. I'd say that there is a hole somewhere. So it's your responsibility as a builder, even if it's not going for passive house, to find out where that is, because that could lead to serious issues down the track.
And what was question 1 about defining high performance? That is called testing.
Testing.
We're testing the building. That goes back to testing.
Yeah.
Renovations are different because you might not get a whole crack at the building.
Well, you might not know where you might not be able to get to the point where you're finding the leakage.
You might not be touching the existing part of the house, so therefore, I would say 3 is a very fair amount around for a renovation, maybe even higher depending on what you're doing. I think you should also, if you're doing an extension, you should test extension compared to the whole house, which is what we did in the past. So our extension, we got to 1 air exchange, and the gaps were coming from the joins to old, so we sealed them up. Then they did the hole and we hit about 2.5.
And let's just also jump on the record here and say, like, that whole thing about, at 5 air changes or lower, you should have ventilation. Like, because you might have a lot of leakage out of a couple of bedrooms or rooms, and I'd almost guarantee that your wet areas where you're producing a lot of this moisture and condensation, they're really airtight because you've got tiles, you've got waterproofing, you've got this, you've got that. You might say, well, I don't need ventilation because I'm at 5 air changes, when those rooms could be 0 air changes. So you're trapping all that moisture in. So we're assuming that even at 3 air changes, even at 5 air changes, our homes have got a ventilation system in them.
That's
Dedicated
awesome.
ventilation system in it.
Yeah, it's a critical inclusion
Yep.
I don't think we do a house without one these days.
Well, we're doing that Alistair Knox home
Yep.
in Eltham, and we're going to be ecstatic if we get 3.
Yep.
We're going to be absolutely over the moon. But we also know that there is a huge amount of risk in that building of condensation if we don't manage our internal humidity because of the pitch of the roof.
I think the other thing with mechanical ventilation is too often we lump. When we talk about mechanical ventilation, everyone just assumes HRV, ERV. I think it should be NCC minimum standard that every fan or mechanical ventilation fan, which that's what it is in a wet area, is on a full time.
Has to be on a timer.
No, it's not. It's just full time. It goes full time, and it then goes with a humidity sensor, and it will ramp up if the occupant
And
is
you know
on a
what?
timer.
These are such low cost things to put in a
$400
home.
or something.
Yeah.
So that should be minimum standard
Yep.
because I think the issue is we like mechanical ventilation as only a HRV or ERV. Mechanical ventilation is your fan. It's your range hood.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. It's great. Okay, so then sort of touched on this next question. It's almost segued in nicely for me. As builders, the biggest mistake you've made on a project, and has it changed something about the way you build today?
Yep. I
want
want
to
to
go
talk to the biggest mistake I've ever made.
You've talked about this one before.
I think the biggest mistake I ever made was I was dealing with a really tricky client in an area in Melbourne, and I was getting to the very end of that project, and I was just about to start this other project. I just had Darcy was not far off being born, so I'm pretty flustered. I'm dealing with this tricky client. And in retrospect, the tricky client was mismanagement from me, 100% mismanagement from me. Like I haven't had a tricky client for a long time now. I've then gone and started this project for this new amazing client who I'm still friends with today. And I accidentally, I needed to set out for the pool in the backyard, or give the pool builder a line so he can get his pool shell in. If you imagine the back end of the building, I've taken a point off one end and a point off the other end, but just didn't think, and there was a little step in on one end of the building, and I pulled the line off the building and it was out of parallel.
Mm-hmm.
And I rocked up to site one day after the pool had been dug out and realised that the pool was out of, wasn't square to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And completely owned up to the client, and we workshopped it all, and we managed to kind of twist it back the other way without taking any steel out or taking any of the, like, redigging the hole. And we all accepted that it was slightly out. And
How much was it roughly?
It was out quite a bit, because it was a bit away from the house, and it was
Like a few $100 mil.
It was a couple $100 mil.
Yeah,
If I go there, I could see it.
Yeah.
But no one else could see it.
Yeah.
But I said to the client, I go, you know what, it's my fault. We'll fix it. But they're like, no, you know what? Let's just work this out, and let's draw it on paper, and we'll try and figure it out. But that's the biggest mistake I've ever made. And my biggest learnings from that is that I personally don't do set outs anymore, because I'm better doing other things within the business. So you need someone who is 100% engaged on the day, phone off, doing the set out.
Okay, cool.
I got two. I have a little bit similar to yours. I lost control of the client. Nice people, still get along with them. Like, it's relationship still pretty good. What I'd done is I'd let them dictate too much and kind of run the build at their own pace. They started bringing in all their trades. Then they started we're going to bring the heating cooling guy, and they just started to practically go there and do whatever they fucking wanted. They'd rip stuff out. I'd try and get variations. I'd lost complete control of the contract. It got to a point where they were there on weekends, and I'd rock up on a Monday, there was 2 bags of Coke on the ground that were empty.
What?
Yeah. And you'd be like, guys, what's happening here? And they'd just deny it. I had cameras up. I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Right.
So I had lost complete control, and I couldn't get them back in line to listen to any direction that I needed to keep the project moving. So I decided to just keep the relationship, because they could just turn any time. In hindsight, I should have just terminated the contract. Should have just...
Wow.
Yeah. So I was a bit younger. So, and you kind of go, and it kind of goes back to like you take on the project because, and I knew from the start this client wasn't for me instantly, but I took the project on. Like I knew that they weren't my people. So I sort of lost control of running the project, getting variations. They just do whatever. It's why I have a golden rule that we'll only use our own trades. We'll not allow other trades to come on that the client will bring. If they want to do it, they can do it in their own time because it just creates a mess and who's responsible if something goes wrong. So that was one. Second one is I don't work for, and I know you're very different here, Hamish. I don't work for people I know. Like I'll only work for clients. I don't work for family or friends, period.
Okay.
I respect.
You're not uncommon in that. There's a lot of people who do that.
I just have it. My anxiety goes. I feel like I've got to do even more for them, and when I'm already doing more.
Oh, yeah, I love working for family and friends. Mostly friends.
My fear is if what happens, for example, if something goes wrong, and it's that big what if, and I lose that. It's just, I just see the relationship is more valuable than the financial gain or build.
I mean, maybe I've got a theory about this, just because we've done it a bunch of times.
Maybe I had a bad experience
because I'm not the one on site actually physically doing the thing, and even in pre-construction, they're dealing with Dan and they're dealing with Robert and they're dealing with Jeanne. Like I'm kind of in and out all the time, but I think because I've got that little bit of separation from that, like Adam Palozzi is a great example.
Yep.
You know, we had a rule that when he worked out at my place, we didn't talk about, like when we crossed this is my old house, we crossed this line here, we didn't talk about the house.
Maybe that's the boundaries I haven't set.
As soon as we step into the driveway, we can talk about the house all you want. But if we're working out, we're working out. We're not talking about your house.
Yeah.
Even if you have a problem with something that's going on site, you go through the right channel. You don't come to me unless I am the channel.
Yeah.
It's just about setting clear boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And communication.
And Courtney, actually, they were away with us over at Chrissy, and she's like, "Oh, we haven't hired you again, Hamish. We've hired Nick."
Hey.
And I'm like, "Great, awesome." That's exactly what I want to hear, though, because
it is. It's my fear, though. Like let's go worst case scenario. Once like my best mate and I do it, and just something goes wrong, and now we're not friends. Like and the chances are so zero, like pretty much zero, because I'd bend over backwards to make everything go right.
I mean,
but like, what if?
Yeah, each to their own. Like if you said to me, Sven, I want you to build my house, I wouldn't have any hesitation. But it's very clear that, hey, there's no mates rates and we're going to just do you a really great job.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd obviously look after you.
Charge more.
Probably.
Charge more or something.
What's this detail
Or
for?
I'd just deal with Dawn.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be much easier.
Did you use
Much
square
easier.
meter
You'll
rates?
get decisions.
Yeah. Use square meter rates to get your budget, or how'd you do it?
Yeah, it's $500 a square meter, isn't it?
Yeah, for me to estimate it, it's $500 a square meter.
So then talking about building my house, because I haven't built a house and you haven't built it, just to be clear, what's the best project you've ever worked on and what made it so good or successful?
You go first.
I've got a few. I've got a few, like, you know, even in the last, because I know.
Don't sit on the fence and be diplomatic because you feel like you're going to upset a client.
Do you know what? I know I've got past clients that listen to this, and I would say in the past 6 or 7 years, I've been incredibly fortunate to build some amazing projects, and I've still got amazing relationships with our clients. But I think the one that is the complete standout for me, and it's not a passive house, is the project we completed in Kangaroo Ground. And it's just everything that was in that project. It was the clients fell in love with the view, and I fell in love with the view as soon as I was there. Like the day that we handed the keys over, I'm just like, oh, am I ever going to be able to come back? Like it's just such an amazing property to be on. Like, and Scott from TLC has done such an incredible job with the landscape, and there's this beautiful connection between their building and the landscape, and the decisions that the clients have made along the way with selecting individual bits of reclaimed timber. Like we went out to King Lake and I remember us picking these timbers for these reasons because I got all these notes around it.
So what you're saying is really the design of the project and its response to the site is what made that project so memorable for you.
And do you know what's interesting? That project didn't have an architect. It had a really great interior designer by Aaron, but it actually was designed by just a draftsperson, like a local draftsperson.
Yeah.
And I,
So you're saying you don't need a design team?
no, I'm not saying that at all.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Do you know what? I'm not at
Sorry
all.
if I did that.
I'm
No,
not
I'm
at all.
joking.
Because like, and my clients can attest to this. I said to them like, it probably would have been a lot easier for us and a lot quicker for us if we had really well developed documentation. The internal drawings were excellent because they were from Aaron.
Yep.
But you know the actual structure of the home. Well,
Could be improved on.
Maybe what I liked about it so much is that I was allowed to put a lot of my kind of design flair into the home because you know I designed the trusses that were there. You know, I selected which way the timbers were facing. You know, the big reclaimed timbers were facing. Yeah. You know, we've made a few suggestions to the clients along the way around how we finish the bottom of the cladding. Like we used all the reclaimed bricks from around the house and created like a 2 or 3 brick high plinth around the whole house. And the clients were all on board with it because they trusted us. But that's one experience. I've had amazing experience with also building the Hempcrete house and even Kat and Chris's house during COVID. I don't know. I've got so many great projects.
It's interesting you bring up about helping choose materials and details and being involved in that creative
I love that side.
process. Yeah, and so you're a bit of a closet designer in a way. Like you're not just the builder.
Yeah, yeah. We did the same with another project in Warrandyte. You know, some of my happiest moments are when I'm at my own house on the weekend and I get to just be free with the design. We're doing the sort of tennis court area at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's very free flowing. There's no plans there. I can kind of take my time or speed things up or do whatever. And like, I love that process, but I know that process doesn't work at scale if I want to do 4, 5, 6 homes a year.
Yeah.
So we need really great documentation for our projects, but at
Great
home,
escape.
Great escape.
at home, you know, and it drives Lucy crazy. I love the flexibility of being able to change shit.
Yeah, yeah. But there's an ease that comes with being on site and doing that on the fly.
Yep.
It's a real skill to be able to sit down in a room with a computer and create that.
I couldn't do that. I need to be in context.
Yeah.
I think that's where my strengths are in the moment on site, saying, "Hey, why don't we do this?"
Yeah.
But I don't think I could like foresee that.
And therein lies a tension in the industry, I think, because a lot of architects and designers won't have a project constructed if they aren't doing the contract administration component of it, because they don't want a builder to come in and substitute a material. We've had it happen on a project where we advocated for contract admin. Client said no, went past the site just randomly one day, not to do an inspection, noticed something had changed, mentioned it to the client. The client didn't know about the change. Just the builder thought it looked better.
Client, I'm fine with administered contracts as long as there's no retention. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's pretty.
I mean, I don't love administered contracts, but I definitely advocate.
I don't
for
love
the,
them,
for
but
the
I'm okay
designer,
with them.
for the design team to be involved.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, even Aaron wants to come to site to check on joinery and all that kind of stuff, which should be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So bring it over to you.
I've got 4, but they're like
Pick one.
No. So first one.
We've got a podcast here,
My first passive house is always a special spot.
Yeah.
That I just love because it was new, fun, exciting, and that always holds a special spot. Then I got the rifle range retrofit, which was an NFIT, which was the first NFIT, something that hadn't been done before. Super exciting. The third one is probably the house that I never built because I pulled out on a project that I'd done the passive house course. I was like, why are we still building this way? We can't. And I wasn't vibing with the clients. They wanted to go down this non-sustainable road. And I was like, I'm out. I was going to sign a contract a week later or 2, COVID hit. I know that builder lost about 400K. Right. So it's the project I never built is probably my favorite because it probably saved me being in business.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my favorite house I built is mine because I now get to live in it.
Yeah.
Like you go like 5 years to get to site. Like when you're in there, it's like, whoa, like, yeah, no, this was worth it. Like going through VCAT, spending 50 grand to fight cancel. You're like, when you're finally in, I'm like, no, like, all right, you just forget about it. Yeah. It's like, it's all totally irrelevant at that point. So my favorite is my own house, and simply because like, it's what I'd ever like Nicole and I had always dreamed and imagined. And now I don't have to hand that over to client. I actually get to move into and live in it.
Is there any way we can actually see that house?
Yeah, so there's a show called Grand Designs if you haven't seen it.
Is it Grand?
Yeah.
No, I don't know that show.
I don't watch that.
Yeah, season.
Oh, that's the show
Season
where
12,
they
episode 10.
interview your wife about her her baby that she grows while
Yeah.
you focus on me, house.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. What's your favourite project?
That's a great question. So many.
No, you got to pick one.
Yeah, I know.
Look at you.
I think,
who's your favourite client?
I tell you what, it's the one, the Canal House in Brisbane.
Yeah,
I
interesting.
think. And look, I love all of our projects. Don't get me wrong. I love the small little shacks we did. The one in Outram, the vineyard,
Yeah, that's
off-grid
beautiful.
passive
Is that the
house.
circle one?
No, it's a little box, 8x8 footprint. It's just the most beautiful little thing.
Yeah, cool.
And the clients are the happiest people in the world. I loved working with them.
That trumps a better,
What
like a passive house, a happy client. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but the one in Brisbane is great because I'm still in contact with the client every other week, and I'm getting feedback, constant feedback. And even just the other day, he said, I was sitting out on my balcony. I've been living in this house 3 years now, sitting on my balcony, and I turned to my wife and I said, God, I love this house.
Let's do it again.
And I like that made me feel.
Is this a passive house too?
Yeah.
It's not certified, but it would be if we
that's-
went through the motions. So
Have you got? Yeah,
but
that's
we
interesting.
did.
Brisbane. That's
We did so much modelling. That house it was so invested by the client, right?
Yeah.
He went overs on lots of materials to make it as sustainable as he could.
especially in a climate that doesn't. Brisbane or Queensland a little bit behind the ball with some of these things.
They've got a really amenable climate. It's a really friendly climate. But on the flip side, we did 3 different types of thermal modelling to get it
Wow.
absolutely singing.
That's
So
cool.
we did NatHERS, we did PHPP, and we did Design Builder. And Design Builder showed up stuff that PHPP didn't. It was really good.
Interesting.
So it was a great exercise to go through, really educational. Anyway, let's get back to me being the host and asking you the questions. If you could only build one way for the rest of your career, what would it be? Would it be a prefab, a stick build, hemp,
Still frames to me.
rammed earth, steel frames? You love them. What would it be?
Simple shit works.
And what's that mean?
Just timber. Like I think
Stick build.
stick build. Like I like each design lends itself. Like I haven't built with CLT, but I don't know if that's favourable. You know what I mean? Like so to me, you just go back to what I know in timber.
I'm only going to say stick build because it also means that I can layer on other building methodology on top of it. But I think that the future is prefab.
But that could be timber framed then.
Yeah, 1684
Timber frame,
driven
yeah,
timber
yeah,
frame.
yeah, I'm with Hamish.
construction.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe we're biased because we're carpenters.
And you want to stick with it, probably because it's what you know, right? You know it backwards, but also therefore you know how adaptable and flexible it can
exactly.
be.
Yep.
Yeah, you can kind of solve. I think you can solve all problems with timber framing. You can't with every other method of
I mean,
construction.
but as I will go back to the comment I just made before. I think the future is down the prefab cassette kind of.
timber frame can still mean straw bale, can still mean hemp insulation in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that delves into the next and second last question. Looking into the future, crystal ball it. Where's the next leap in residential construction and performance going to come from? Is it better materials, better processes on site?
Is it
It's
talking
legislation.
better education?
It's legislation.
better
Yeah,
legislation?
is it? Yeah, we're talking about as an industry or what we do specifically.
As an industry?
No,
Yeah.
I reckon it has to be legislation.
Legislation.
That'd be-
Councils are the biggest barrier to improving building standards right now.
Councils?
Yep.
Not the building codes?
Well, the councils like to be, like the planners like to be architects. They think they are. They're denying
Some of them
they're
are.
denying buildings that should be built and allowing things that shouldn't be built.
I think
through.
that's easing though. I think
Is
that's
it?
it's easing.
Well, they just put it. Just it probably does come down to legislation, but I would then say, so I shouldn't then blame councils. Hamish is right. Legislation, because legislation guides what they can then.
The
Go
black
th-
and white? Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so it's
planning
not.
law,
It's
yeah.
subjective. Let's just make it black and white. Does this do this? Yes, no. And the reality is, AI is going to kill that side of the industry because
legislation means that there's no choice. It's pretty
Yeah, so
clear.
we're raising the bar.
Yep.
Yeah.
or cleaning up.
But I think
Yeah.
importantly with that, we need education.
Oh, yep.
But
I
that comes
think
down to legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're going to put the rules in place,
The
educate
education.
everyone on the why
Yeah,
and the how and
exactly.
make sure everyone's up
Yeah.
to speed and,
Yeah.
and
They
they're
should all
not
listen to
afraid
this-
of it.
They should all listen to this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, signing up. I'm loving my podcast. I think it's going really well.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. So, is there something, this is my last question, is there something you think that designers and architects should stop preaching publicly or stop doing because it actually distracts from what you're trying to do at the end of the
Stop
day?
wearing the turtlenecks to site.
On a 40-degree day.
Sorry, just touch it.
Ask the question again.
Yeah, sorry, it's me being
Is
smart
there,
ass.
is there something that, designers and architects should stop talking about publicly or stop doing or documenting or whatever it is? Should we do something differently because it's distracting from what actually improves outcomes?
Can I look? And I'm asking the design community to speak freely here. It is not about you and your name on the building. Like, it is a truly collaborative approach to get a home for a client to move into. So I think I want to see more architects and designers celebrating the success of a project that includes the builder and the trades.
So
I don't think we say that enough.
Are you saying that, like, when we design our buildings and we have a big Maxa Design logo imprinted into the render, you're saying we shouldn't do that anymore?
No.
I think I actually don't. That's perfect.
I think that like if
It's a team effort, so recognise the entire team
think
in the
And not just the
process.
builders of trades.
because how many times do we get picked up if we don't?
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that we never would acknowledge the design team, because we always do, but I see less of the design community acknowledging the builder. And please, anyone listening, prove me wrong.
It's not all the
So-
time. Yeah.
To that though, what if one of the team members was particularly dysfunctional or challenging? For example, we have a project where the clients have asked us not to include the builder in any of the marketing or promotional material because the relationship soured.
Well, I think
Between the
that's
client and the builder.
But okay,
That's a them problem.
So there's always going to be outliers to the comment that I just made,
Yep.
right? But I just think, generally speaking, I think that the success of a home should be celebrated with everybody.
So this is so we've talked about this off air in our little builders group. What won project of the year in Victoria last year?
A home that where the builder went broke, the
Two
two builders went broke.
Is that a successful project?
Oh, not in my books.
Yeah,
no.
two builders went broke.
And that's not a problem. That's not the. I'm going to defend the architect. I don't even know who it is, to be honest. But that's not their problem. But that still doesn't signify a successful project.
No.
But even if their costings are on point and they couldn't manage their costings and the builder was 100% at fault, it's still not a successful project.
Yep.
Because two builders went under. Two builders suggested it was undervalued, underpriced. I would suggest, but
Yeah.
I think that goes down to architects. And probably my point to add on is, like, don't tell us what something costs. Period. I hate it when an architect goes, I think that's 2 hours instead of 3.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. Like, I don't know. Like, does your task take 2 hours or 3? I don't tell you how long a detail should take to draw.
Maybe the approach is like if so there'd be two ways. If you came to me and said, Hamish, you're too expensive, or that's too expensive. If you came to me and said, oh, can you just please unpack that? Can we work through that costing together so I can better understand it? Exactly the same messaging, but I'm not defensive about it. It then gives me an opportunity to explain how we got to this number.
Yeah.
But if someone's turning around to me and said, oh, you're too expensive, I'm immediately going to get my back
Yeah,
up.
but compared to what? Oh, what we thought. But did you maybe get it wrong?
Well, I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong here.
No.
I'm just saying that, like, if we're talking about true collaboration, if we're talking about that win-win-win perfect scenario that we're talking about, where you as the designer gets your design built, me as the builder makes money, and the client gets an amazing result, like, we can't get to that unless there's that true collaboration.
Yeah, we're not expendable.
Yeah.
Don't treat us like we're expendable. And I feel a lot of people do. And maybe this is a pet peeve, and I've joked about this before. And none of the architects I know have done this because they've never done it to us. My biggest pet hate from an architect straight off is when we get in our info email is, hi, can you please quote and tender this within 4 weeks? Not a, hi, I'm John. We're looking at this project.
Yeah.
We'd like you to tender. It is due in 4 weeks. And then they chase you up when you don't reply because it was rude enough not to. Even just give a call and be like, hey, we're going to send you this email.
Yeah,
if you're an architect that does that, fuck off, straight off. I'm be straight up. It is so rude. It's so rude.
It's miscommunication. And again, I'm not necessarily blaming the person that sent that email because they're
just
just
rude.
being instructed by.
But just jump on the phone and say, hey, we're going to send you a project. Hey, sorry, it's not something we look at. Or, hey, I'm Matt. Just that's just borderline rude.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've got to finish on our Mindful Moments segment sponsored by MEGT, Australia's largest apprenticeship group. I know, Hamish, you've got a pretty good one today.
Yeah, so my mindful moment now, or for this particular episode, which is quite relevant to the conversations we've had today, is apprentices understanding design documentation. Because a big part of your job as an apprentice is understanding the design documentation. Now, I'm not saying on day one you get a set of plans, you know how to build a house. I'm encouraging you as the apprentice to take the plans home and read through them and then come back and ask any questions.
Just ask for the Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever you use. Like, hey, can I have access to a project or a project you're looking at so I can get more familiar just reading them?
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple and easy one to do too.
Absolutely.
And ask questions.
And you know what? It's going to help you understand how things go to better from, I guess, from a process point of view by understanding the design and understanding the hierarchy of the documentation as well. Like, am I looking at the renders? Am I looking at the engineering? Am I looking at the architecturals? Am I looking at the interior design documentation? Because generally there's 4 documents, and then understanding the hierarchy of where these documentations fit in.
Sven, I think you've been on 3 times now. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate
for
it.
coming on again as always.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Sven.
Cheers.